Gamification has been such a buzzword in the learning development field, but you're not really sure how to add it to your learning culture? Well, in this video, I am going to give you some easy and low-cost ways to add gamification to your next course. So I don't know about you, but I have heard about gamification for quite a few years and have been looking for ways to really add elements of it into my courses and into my training without going too over the top or completely creating an actual game. And for me, what I found is that a lot of my customers, while they want to have elements of gaming and want to have elements of fun, they also want to do it within their corporate boundaries. And they're also not trying to spend a ton of money on a gamified course. So I've been thinking about ways I could add some elements of gaming and some elements of motivation without going too over the top and just be realistic. I think that sometimes we go to these conferences and we watch different videos or different people speak on gamification, and they show you this really awesome gamified course, but it's not realistic to what you are going to do in your work and what your clients are going to pay for. So it's really kind of demotivating to go to these conferences and see these really awesome games, but know that you're not going to have the ability to create one because right now the customers that you have, they don't have the funds for that and they don't really have the culture for that. But you want to dip your toe in the field, right? So we all know that there are a ton of benefits to gamification, including faster onboarding time, greater retention and engagement, and overall, we've seen lower training costs. So what are some elements that you could use to gamify your course? Well, these are a few that I've used. The first is the use of an avatar, and it may seem silly to use an avatar, but this is a way to allow employees or allow your learners to place themselves into a game, and you can create a few different styles, a few different avatars that a learner could choose from, and that's the avatar that takes them through the path. They could name that avatar, and they just feel like they have a sense of ownership as to who's going to lead them through the course. So it's silly, it's simple, but it's just an extra element to make it fun and engaging. And actually, and of course I'm working on now with a client, all of their avatars, they're not using those typical, cutout people. They're all cartoon type avatars, and I find it to be the most engaging and the most game-like, and it really goes with their brand, even though their brand is a little bit more professional, and they like to give off the feeling of expertise. Having these cartoon-like avatars, they could make them in all different styles and all different shades, so you could really inclusify your avatars and not just have very typical 5 avatars to choose from. It's just one way that you can allow your learners to feel like they're part of the course. Another way that you can gamify your course is to use it as part of your assessment. So instead of a traditional assessment, answer, these 10 questions, multiple choice, true or false, all of those things that don't actually really encourage learning. You could try using a game to be part of your assessment, and perhaps it's something that if the student answers the question correctly, they get some points, and if they answer incorrectly, they lose some points. And something that you could then do with those points and the overall score is that you could then funnel it into a leaderboard that's somewhere that's posted where the team could see it. Maybe it's through a Google form or something like that, or a Google sheet. That being said, there are some things that are being said about a public leaderboard that some people really find it motivating and some actually find it demotivating. And I can definitely see both sides of this, right? So for someone like me, I'm an Enneagram 3, so leave a comment down below with what your Enneagram is. But someone like me who is very much into, very motivated by competition, by being the best, being number one, a leaderboard is big for me. I will look at that and I will want to be at the top. However, if that's not how I'm motivated, or I'm hanging out down closer to the bottom, it's not really gonna make me feel good, and it's just gonna make me maybe feel worse about my position. So it's something to think about. Maybe you, instead of posting everybody, you're just posting, you know, like the top 5 or the top 10. But again, if you're not really part of that top 5 or top 10, you may not find that leaderboard very motivating to you. So it's something to think about if you decide to go down the leaderboard route. So if you just keep it simple, I've seen some really cool things on the Articulate website, and I think it was it might have been like in the templates or something like that, but it was a, you know, if you answered a question, and I think it was like with a soccer ball, and if you kicked it and you answered the question correctly, you made a goal and you got some points. Just something simple like that was actually fun for me, and the questions weren't too hard because of course it was a template, but the questions were basically still an assessment, but it was just a different way of showcasing it that made the learner feel a little bit less like they were being assessed and more like they were part of a game. So instead of using some traditional assessments, you could also consider using completion of tasks as part of points. So you could actually take this through, you know, like the different steps of a process, and add points as they complete steps, or remove points as they complete steps incorrectly. And then again, you have that score at the end. It's just a different way to do different gamification elements, or just a different way to score. You could have it being kept track in like the top corner so students can see how well they're doing, and maybe see like, you know, how close they are to their end goal. So another element of gamification is tracking progress and seeing where you are. So when you're in a game, you can see, you know, if you've made it to the next level or how close you are to the end. Well, including something like that is a way to gamify your course without going over the top into a full game simulation. So somewhere where you can include a progress bar or a map. So maybe if we incorporate something that we've learned last week in the these engaging software training video, where we talked about storytelling. So maybe in the beginning of your course, you have a character and they are, you know, on a mission to retrieve some treasure or something like that, something silly, something simple, and they have a treasure map. And each points of that map are is the end of a different you know, course, right? So maybe they get from point A to point B. Once they get to point B, they take a short little assessment to see what they learned while they were going from point A to point B. And you could see the pirate ship, you know, going, you know, traveling through and making it all the way to the treasure at the end. Something simple like that allows you to bring in different elements of your visuals, right? So instead of a boring PowerPoint with text on the slide, you're looking for things that look more like a roll of paper that the edges burned, and your colors may be a little bit different, and the typography that you're using is a little bit more fun instead of Arial or, God, I hope you don't use this, but Times New Roman. Things like that, those little things create some additional gamification elements and just adds a little bit to engaging your learners. Something that a lot of learners don't typically see. I think when they open up a course, they're used to seeing something boring, stale, and kind of like your PowerPoint template. So including some of that storytelling and some sort of progress bar and some sort of you know, overall story, I think really would add to what you're trying to accomplish with engaging learning, and is a different way to add gamification that doesn't take a whole, you know, a whole game. It's just a little element, just a piece of that. And then one thing that I think is really could be really fun, and something that I just recently did for an organization that I volunteer with, is we had a trivia contest. And we played a trivia game at one of our events. We called it Mythbusters, where I took a lot of the questions that were a lot of the wrong advice or incorrect information that is out there that people believe to be true, and we busted those myths live. We were, you know, it was part of a roundtable, but it's something that you could also take into a game, into a course, right? So maybe it's part of your onboarding package. So you have a student that goes through orientation, and then maybe around 6 months, they take this Company A Mythbusters training on their LMS, where you can post some of the most frequently asked questions, but also the most frequently heard myths. And you could see how the student's doing, and you could see where they are actually hearing some of these myths and believing some of these myths, and then you can actually debunk them right there while they're taking the training. And I think that's a super powerful way to take an element of gamification and make it fun, but purposeful at the same time, where you don't have to, again, pay a lot for a full game, and you don't need something more than, something like Articulate Storyline to create that and put it into your LMS. It's just a fun game board. You can add your questions, and then at the end you have points, and then they can see how they did. And it's just one way to continue that onboarding experience and make sure that the students are retaining the knowledge that you want them to retain at the end. So, are you ready to gamify your course? I know I am. I hope you take some of these tips and you start injecting a little bit of gamification elements into your next course to increase engagement with your learners. And if you're looking for a group of people who are helpful and engaging and are ready to give you advice and ask for advice from you as well, make sure you join the Freelance Learning Development Network on Facebook. I'll leave the link down below. Friends, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video.